We've had this conversation.
You know, I was on my way out to go hook up the truck to the camper, and it made me think, I need to share with everybody all the things that we like to check on the inside of our RV and on the outside of the RV just before we pull out from where we're at. So come with me as we go hook up the truck to the camper, and then we'll get to talking about some of the things that we like to check on the inside of the RV and on the outside of the RV just before we pull out. So let's go do that. Now that we're done hooking up, it's good to have a checklist, something like this, or a book, or something that you've written down, or a list that you've printed in order to be able to remember the things that you need to check on before you actually pull out of wherever you're at. So I made a checklist inside of this little book of things that I need to remember or make sure that I do before we actually pull out. So I'm gonna go over a few of those items with you so that you can see some of the things that we use. So one is making sure that the hitch is locked to the truck. So when we actually set the camper down on top of the ball of the truck, we wanted to make sure that we have a lock in there so that it won't pop back off. We did make sure that we put the little latch down to make sure that it's locked securely, but putting a lock inside of that, make sure it won't pop up. The other thing is chains hooked to tow vehicle. The reason for those chains being hooked to the tow vehicle is to make sure that if it did come off, or if the camper actually came away from the tow vehicle, that the chains would hold the camper to your tow vehicle. The next thing is camper plugged into truck securely. So we have a plug, just like a lot of you do, where you take your plug and you plug it in. Now that runs your brake lights, that runs your 12-volt system or anything like that that may be connected to your camper. Another thing on our list is breakaway cable securely connected. There's a breakaway cable that we have to connect to our truck so that if the chains don't work and the truck and the camper came disconnected from each other, it would pull a pin, engage the brakes on the camper, and help the camper actually stop itself. All right, other things that we like to check to make sure that we do are in our book saying stabilizers are up. So all the stabilizers are up on our camper. Now we have 2 in the front and 2 in the rear. We want to make sure those are up before we pull out. Another thing that we want to check is electricity disconnected. So we want to make sure that we take our cable and disconnect electricity from wherever we are from the camper. Be nothing worse than actually driving off, having that connected, and it rip itself off of your RV. And not to mention, you would leave your power cable at the campsite itself. Another thing that we want to check are our slide outs. Now we bring our slide outs in, but before we actually leave, we go and check the slide out to make sure that it's all the way in. All the way in and secure. Now your camper may have 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 slide outs. You bring those in, but before you leave, make sure that all your slide outs are not just in, but all the way in. Other items to check are things like external hatches locked and doors closed. So all the hatches, like we have an external kitchen on our camper. We also have storage bins and things like that. So making sure that those are closed, locked, and secured, as well as all your doors. So we have a door into our bathroom and we have a door into the main area of the camper. We want to make sure that those are closed and that they're locked and secured. Another thing on the list is to check running lights and make sure that they come on. The running lights on the side of the camper, if it starts to get dark outside or anything like that, you want to make sure that they come on so that they identify your camper, where it is, to those who are driving around you. And then the last thing that we have on the outside on our list is to check to make sure that our turn signals and brake lights work. So what we'll do is we'll actually connect and we'll go back to the camper and we'll turn the vehicle on and check to make sure that the turn signals come on by turning the left turn signal on and then the right turn signal and then actually pushing the brakes to make sure that those work correctly also. All right, the last couple of things on our list are actually on the inside of the RV. One of the things on our list is to make sure that our cabinet doors are closed and secured. Now, if they have doorknobs on them, we shut those and make sure that they won't open. The ones with doors like behind me, we actually have ties that we take and we put the ties around the handles to make sure that the doors don't open and the stuff that's inside of it when we're going down the road won't fall out. And yes, we've actually had that happen before. Now, the last thing on our list are things in the camper that we need to have secured so that it won't roll around or damage anything. One of the things, like our trash can inside of our bathroom, we actually take that and put it in the sink so that it'll stay secured. Now, a good tip is that you have a bathtub or a shower and sinks and stuff like that. If you have items in your camper and you need a place to put them so that they won't roll around, then that might be a place where you can store them just while you're going down the road. All right, so that just about does it for the things that we check on before we leave. Now, our checklist and your checklist may not look the same, but I ask you to please write yourself down a checklist. The reason for doing that is if you get into those days where you're in a hurry or get complacent or don't think about something, then you have something that you can rely on or look at as a reminder of things that you need to do before you actually leave. Now, I know your rig is different than mine, and my items actually have about 12. You may have more than that, or you may have less than that. It's a good idea to have a checklist just to make sure that you don't forget any of those items. Now, like I said, we have 12 items and we just went through that today. All right, before we wrap up, if there's anything that you've learned today, then I am so glad that you did. If there's additional things that you do beyond the checklist or additional things that you do on your checklist that may help somebody else in their type of RV that they have, then please leave those down in the comments below. And before you wrap up with this video, please click on the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up for a like if you like the video. And until the next time, keep it safe, enjoy your trip, watch your checklist, and God bless.